G'day, I'm Kevin. In 2019, I took a year off work. I shut down the computer and locked up the office. And I spent that time living in Chiang Mai and travelling in Southeast Asia to learn, to reflect, relax, but most of all to test whether I could live here full time. And the answer is yes. But when I returned to Australia at the end of March 2020, the world turned upside down and I was locked into Australia for 2 years. But I'm back now. I'm living here in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and there's so much to see and do. This is my journey. This is 52 weeks. Is dinner, breakfast, and the bus trip home to Chiang Mai. 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 So, as it turns out, in the post-COVID world, only 2 buses go from Datong to Chiang Mai every day. One at 6:30 in the morning, which is never a realistic option for me, and then one at 3:30 in the afternoon, which would get me into Chiang Mai pretty late-ish, or 7-ish, 7:30ish. So now I am on a yellow taxi which is going to take me to Phang, and then theoretically I can get a bus from there. They go every hour from there apparently. So things never quite work out as you plan them in Thailand, but there's always a solution to the problem. Okay, we made it to Phang. We got here just as the bus to Chiang Mai was pulling out, so I think I have a bit of a wait, maybe an hour, but still much better than 3:30. And an hour later, I am on the bus heading to Chiang Mai. Warm day and the gentle rocking of the bus. There's a high likelihood I might fall asleep. Hello, tuk-tuk. ไปนะครับ ขอบคุณ Here we are back in Chiang Mai. And I waited for the direct bus. Be waiting for another 3/4 of an hour before I leave. So I think it was a good decision. First order of business off a bus on this trip seems to be get something to eat, so that's what I'm going to do. I'll get something to eat, I'll grab a tuk-tuk home, and then I'll catch up with you there. I am home now. I've had a shower and cleaned up a little bit. Really enjoyed that trip. My legs a little sore from the walk up to Teton. When was that? Yesterday? Seems so long ago now. I hadn't intended to do a video on my trip home, and I'm not entirely certain what it will look like, but I'll put it together and see. But in the end, I decided, because the adventure started this morning after breakfast when I went to reception just to inquire when the local buses would travel to Chiang Mai from Teton. My recollection was that they used to travel about one every hour, and I was told that after COVID things have changed, and that there's only two buses that travel back to Chiang Mai a day, one at 6:30 in the morning and one at 3:30 in the afternoon, I think it was. Now the one at 6:30 in the morning had already left, because I was certainly not up at 6:30 in the morning. And the other one was quite a few hours away, so they advised me that I could catch a yellow taxi truck to Phang and then get a bus from there, because they go every hour from Phang. So I decided I would do that, and that's where the adventure began. It wasn't a bad trip. The yellow taxi truck ride seemed to go pretty quickly, pretty comfortable, wasn't that crowded. There's only two of us all the way and three at any given point in time on it. Yeah, so that was okay. And then just as we were pulling into the bus station in Phang, the bus was turning out to go to Chiang Mai, so we had to wait an hour for the next bus, but that was okay. Yeah, and then I got back to Chiang Mai about a half hour before I would have been getting on, half to 3/4 of an hour before I would have been getting on the bus in Chiang Mai had I waited. So I think I made a good decision. Had a bit of a kip on the way home. There's a couple of border checkpoints, well, not border checkpoints, but border control points on the way back, which nobody's ever been interested in my paperwork in the entire time I've been going up to Teton. But today they checked my paperwork at both border points. I think the first one was more of a photo opportunity for the young lad who was checking the paperwork. Look at me, how old I am now, the young lad. But the second one was more serious, that they actually checked all the associated bits of paper, that I'd done my 90-day reporting and that I'd notified people where I was living and all of that sort of stuff. But I had, so there was no drama there. But yeah, so that's the first time in maybe 8 or 9 visits to Teton that anybody's ever bothered to check my passport. In fact, generally if I'm kind of holding it, they just kind of wave it off. But once again, I think COVID has changed how people operate a bit. So yeah, so that was interesting. It was a good trip and a relaxing trip, and nice to get out of the routine, even though the routine's pretty relaxing. But anyway, that was the trip back from Teton. So I think that's it for now. I'll catch you next time.